This is a Phantom Thoughts RPG a Day 2025 episode. For this year, for RPG a Day, I will attempt to use the prompts to create elements of an adventure module. So hopefully by the end of the month, I'll have everything you need that you put together party characters and go on an adventure. Day one of RPG a Day is Patron. So we're going to roll up a patron here. And I'm going to use the facts tables for non-player characters from the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide. So the first table is alignment. That is a D10. And I rolled a 10. So what is a 10? Neutral. Neutral alignment. Possessions or wealth, D10. We rolled a 5 average. So since this is supposed to be a patron, I think he should probably be a little higher than that, a little higher than average. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch those two rolls. I'm going to switch the alignment to the 5, which gives him chaotic evil. So we'll give it chaotic evil. And that gives possessions as super abundant, because I think that makes more sense for a patron. Not saying you can't have a patron with average wealth, but it would be probably more of an influence thing, which might be more interesting, but I did what I did. Appearance, age. He appears mature. And general appearance is a 3, unkempt. So super abundantly wealthy that he probably doesn't care what they look like. All right, sanity, also a D10. 4, normal sanity. So normal sanity. The options here are on one extreme, very stable, and the other extreme, neurotic, unstable, insane, and maniacal. I actually rolled maniacal for when I was using these tables for one of the groups that appeared for the leader in my solo campaign. General tendencies. This is a D12 and a D6. It's 24 options, so I believe the D6 is just which of the groups of 12s you pick. But you know what? I have a D24 here, so I'm just going to roll the D24. And he promptly dropped it on the floor. So we are going to do a D6 and a D12. So the D6 I'm going to roll on the first half of the table, and I'm going to roll a 4. He's an altruist, a chaotic evil altruist. Interesting. Personality is a D8. A D8 followed by a D8. So the first D8 determines which column it's in. It's in the average column, and on that average column we rolled a 4, which is aloof, an aloof personality, an aloof altruist who is chaotic evil. Disposition, D10 again. That is a 3. Compassionate sensitive. This is a complicated creature here. Intellect. And we get ponderous. A ponderous intellect. Their nature is a D6. Soft-hearted. And materialism, avaricious. So soft-hearted and avaricious. Honesty, back to the D8. Scrupulous and bravery, also a D8. Normal, so normal bravery, and scrupulous honesty. And then finally morals. These are D12 rolls. Morals is D12 and piety is D12. Morals a 4 normal, piety, 3 pious. All right. So after looking over all the things that I rolled up for the NPC alignment for the patron, I started going through the monster manual looking for chaotic evil creatures, intelligent creatures that this could possibly represent. Of course, it could just be a leveled character, a magic user, cleric, thief, fighter, what have you. But it would have to be probably a lower level character in AD&D, because a higher level would have their own followers and hirelings and henchmen that they would be able to send on missions, so they wouldn't necessarily need PCs for that. It could also just be an ordinary person. It could be a merchant or a mayor or a noble of some sort, or engaging in some kind of skullduggery. So they're hiring PCs, or they don't have. Normally, the people they have are just specific jobs, specific security, that sort of thing. But I did go through the monster manual and came up with, as far as chaotic evil creatures, you had the vampire. Well, all the Monster Manual 2, and Fiendfolio, you have vampire, the Lamia noble, you had Githyanki, Wanti, pure bloods, would look like humans and would be chaotic evil, shades, and then there were also a few creatures that I think could be interesting. Doppelganger is listed as neutral. Lich is listed as neutral but evil, and the Rakshasas are listed as lawful evil. So I just made that list. I'm going to roll a d10, and we'll see what we come up with here. All right, and an 8 is a Lamia noble. So I'm going to go with that for the patron. As to what this patron wants the PCs for, or why, or what the situation is, we'll see how that explore. I think that some of that will be explored in later prompts in RPGaDay. So we're going to end with this one right here. So what is this Lamia noble doing here? And what I've figured out is, looking at the aspects that were rolled up for this Lamia noble, is that something happened that caused them to be removed to have to move from their lair, from their territory, and that they took on the guise of a merchant's wife. Essentially, they used their abilities to deal with when they ran across a wealthy merchant, and used it to put into an area, put themselves into a place where maybe they could eventually go back to their lair or what have you. And so the way I think this works out is, I think that matches with the aloof part, because Lamia are known as being solitary creatures, although Lamia nobles probably would interact with their fellow Lamia a little more. But that would fit the aloof personality type. The materialism, I believe, would come when that Lamia comes to understand what money means, especially because, as part of the process of luring someone, Lamia reduce the wisdom of someone that they touch a lot. And so this merchant would be compromised in that aspect. And so this Lamia would have to take on more of that part of the merchant's business to keep them from getting cheated and making bad decisions. As far as being scrupulous, her scruples being honest, is that, as a noble, the Lamia would be used to their word just being taken for what it is and acted upon, and so would not see as much need for subterfuge beyond what they do to feed and things like that. I think the rest of most of those attributes, being altruistic, being compassionate, sensitive, being soft-hearted, I think that can tie into two things. Number one, that a lot of that is going to be directed towards their own people, towards Lamias. I don't know why I keep wanting to put an N in there. Towards Lamias, wanting their well-being. Number two, could go with the pious, being pious individual, having faith. Maybe they've converted to some sort of faith. Maybe they had an encounter with some kind of God or godlike being or God's messenger, and that caused them to take on certain aspects of worship of a particular god as they've traveled with this merchant. And then lastly, I think part of that would be somewhat misguided, being evil. You don't necessarily understand what being good is, and that they believe that because in this world, probably mainly of humans, there's probably a human society, human city that the PCs find this creature in, that seeing in human society that the underclasses are both very large and have a great deal of suffering, they may view it as a kindness to take those who are the most isolated, the most alone, and use them as food, that it's a kindness to them. And they use the wealth to somewhat improve the plight of the underclasses, simply to keep them around, because they know if they are dependent on them, they will be available. So it's an altruism split between their own people and a misguided look at what is correct to do to other creatures. So the last thing I need to do for this is to roll for what level of magic use this Lamia Noble has. That is usually directed to the natural abilities they have with Charm, Person, Mirror, Image, Suggestion, and Illusion. But I'm going to say that Lamia, being high intelligence creatures, even though this one has a ponderous intellect, so it takes a little more time, is going to have access to some other spells. Maybe not up to the same level as a magic user would at that level. Maybe not the same number of minimum spells, but more spells than just what is natural. So let's roll. It's 2 to 8 for a female Lamia Noble, and that's what I think would be best for this situation. So here we go. D4 twice. So we got a 3, and we got a 4. So 7th level of magic use. And I think that concludes our patron. The opening theme of this podcast was Strength of the Titans, and the closing music is Late Out Radio, both from Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. If you have any thoughts or feedback, you can get in touch with me by leaving me a voicemail on my Google Voice number, 864-209-1441. That's 864-209-1441. Or through SpeakPipe at www.speakpipe.com/Phantom Thoughts. That's www.speakpipe.com/Phantom Thoughts. Or you can send me a message or an audio file on Discord, where I can be found the Pink Phantom, or through email, phantomthoughtspodcast@gmail.com. That's phantomthoughtspodcast@gmail.com. I don't have to play or read your feedback on the podcast if that is not your preference. Just let me know.